more now on that food report that shows Canadians expect to pay more to eat. Janet Music is with Dalhousie's Agri-Food Analytics Lab and co-author of the Food Sentiment Index. Nice to see you, Janet.
Thanks for having me.
3,000 Canadians, 6 months. This is a thorough study of how Canadians feel about all aspects of food. Why is measuring sentiment important?
Well, I think it's interesting in terms of how people are shopping. We often talk about prices, we forecast prices, and we assume that people feel a certain way. Maybe they're optimistic, which means money, but we don't actually know that. So polling Canadians on how they actually feel about prices can give lots of information for people like myself who are researching these phenomenons, but also for businesses who are trying to attract or keep their customer base.
So you ask Canadians about how they feel about a lot of goods and services, not just food prices and groceries. But there's no comparison. The concern over food leads the way by a large margin.
It really does. And, you know, it's one of those things, there's no switching opportunity with food. We all have to eat, and regardless of income. And so whether you're renting a small apartment in a large city or you own a home in a rural region in Canada, food is going to be primacy for you because it's something that we have to do every day. And food prices, they take a lot of that paycheck, right? And so, you know, generally speaking, we don't want to be spending so much on food that we can't pay for transportation or housing. But when we have these pressures on Canadians, it's not, you know, it makes for a very unhappy populace, put it that way.
Is concern over food prices one thing that unites Canadians?
Well, I think lately, it seems there are quite a few things that are uniting Canadians,
right.
But absolutely food prices falls into that category because I think in terms of, you know, how large our region is, you know, from BC to Nova Scotia, I think even though there are regional disparities, we're still all kind of struggling with the same thing, whether it's on fish prices or bread prices or milk prices.
Canadians are spending, according to your index, spending slightly less on groceries than, say, a year ago, but at the same time, prices are higher. So does that give us any kind of window that Canadians may be spending significantly less on what they eat, how they eat?
Yeah, there could be a couple of variables behind that phenomenon. Certainly, we know people are very price conscious right now, so they could be shopping at a variety of different locations, possibly locations that we wouldn't typically think of as grocery stores, like the Dollarama or Tiger. We can also see people buying in bulk, and so they're saving a little money on purchases that way. And simply, it could be that they're purchasing things that are now so small in packaging that they're considered snack items. And so we're not seeing, you know, a large package of cookies or ice cream, for example, but they're buying smaller packages, and that's getting taxed. So it could be that they're including that price in their own mental perception of how much they're paying.
So that's one area that government can do something about because they tax what are considered snack foods, and you're saying some of the packaging is bringing them down to the point where they're now considered snacks?
Yeah, so that is one of the sneaky ways that food companies increase their prices without actually increasing what, you know, the packaging. And so you start to see, you know, oh, my cookies, the cookies that I like, or the potato chips that I like, it's at a stable price and they don't tend to raise prices very much. But, you know, you'll notice over time that those packages become smaller and smaller. Well, at a certain point, they're not considered food or grocery items anymore. They're considered a snack item, and snack items are actually taxed by CRA. And so that is absolutely one of those instances where we could see government officials making a positive impact for working Canadians and Canadians who have to pay for food. They could quickly reduce the cost of food by eliminating some of those taxes on those snack items.
How does the Buy Canadian movement, sometimes Canadian prices or products are pricier, how does that square with the need for lower cost options?
Well, I think we're seeing a real wave of pro-Canada and, you know, elbows up and patriotism, which we don't necessarily think of as a Canadian trait. But we do see a lot of people united behind this mantra and looking to really support local businesses, whether they think it's cheaper to do so in terms of tariffs or incoming tariffs, or whether or not this is just an emotional response to some of the unpredictable news items, so to speak, coming out of the United States, where we do import a lot of our food from. And so, I think overall it's a net positive for communities where people are spending their dollars, and it is going to local food producers and going to local farmers. And we're really seeing that as a wave of consciousness among Canadians across the board.
I've noticed it. You probably have too at the grocery store. People really humming and hawing over that discounted strawberries. Good price, but they're out of the U.S. and they really don't know what to do.
Well, at a certain point, price is always going to be the determinant for people, right? Because, I think maybe strawberries, you can go without strawberries in your diet, but really we want people to be eating a nutritious and healthy diet so we can have better health outcomes overall. And so in terms of some meat products, for example, a lot of that is made Canadian, same with milk and cheese, considered very healthy, always going to be considered Canadian. But you're absolutely right. For some of these fruits and vegetables, which are really important for dietary nutrition, it's going to be this kind of toss-up. Do I spend the extra money to get fresh local strawberries? And, the strawberry is the poster child for local food in the summer. They are delicious no matter what province you're in. And so people are going to have to make that decision. Do I spend the money on something healthy and local, or do I save money so I can buy more and buy it from the United States or wherever it's coming from?
Janet Music, people are certainly more cognizant now, I think, of where their food comes from and what's behind, pricing and whatnot. Thank you very much for your time tonight and guiding us through this important index.
Well, thanks for having me.
We'll take a time out. The Lifeline in Katy and Newfoundland. All after this.